This is Gemara Baba Basra Daf Kof Vav, and we're holding on the top of Kof Vav Amid Aleph as we begin a new Mishnah. The learning for today's year should bring an incredible refuah shalema for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva b'siyata d'shemaya. Koyach HaTorah knows no bounds, similar to the Koyach HaTfilah. Siyata d'shemaya, our collective chusim of learning Torah, should bring Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva an incredible and complete recovery. We're holding on the Mishnah on the top of Kovav Amid Aleph, and we're continuing the same theme of someone selling a base core and trying to figure out the precise measurements. Says the Mishnah, if someone sells a field the size of a base core and he writes, Bisimanav ubemeitzarav, its boundaries and its landmarks. As the top Rashbam adds in, so it says to his friend, Beiskar, I'm selling to you with the following simanim, with the following boundaries. Then what is the halacha? Says the Mishnah, shtos, if the field later was found that it does not have a base core, and it's pachas mishtos, if it was found that it's less than a 6 off, the sale stands. Adshtos, if it was found out that the difference is greater, anything down to a 6, then yinake, we have to subtract from the sale. Let's say, look at the Rashbam again for one more moment. Pachas mishtos higiyah dahainu tvei meiraiva lisa kiflei kiflayim dishtos hainu kav lisa v'chanai mitayla deloy dami lein chesrein yaser. Why? Ta'as b'vishura v'viraiva lisava l'hacha ba'i tvei dakivan da'amar beis karafar nimeichel lecha kehein cheser v'hein yaser dami. So Rashbam speaks out for the fact that he said beis karafar nimeichel lecha, it's similar to saying in chesrein yaser. That's only when he says stam base core. But in our kush, he said base core bisimana v'b'meitzarav ani moich lecha. Therefore, mitafinan shiurei, and we say that even pachas mishtos, it's going to be a good sale. Kivan deherolayim itzrim. Lamaisa, I showed you the boundaries, and therefore it's as if he sold in command zavanli sada zu stama dami kimoishu, like it is being katan begadol. El dahani my damer base core. Aye, but he also said base core. Shekarov le base core. Shenachaser yoiser mishtos. It's not going to be lacking more than a 6. Came to have a moiser yes mutter yeser al shtos. So the Rashbam speaks out that over here we're going off of the previous sugya. If you just say base core, then it's like you said approximate. But over here you didn't do that. Over here you spoke out. These are the boundaries. These are the landmarks. So therefore, you basically said, here it is. So in that scenario, it's going to be a good sale. It's going to be a good sale because he showed it to him. Says the Gemara, Itmar. Ravuna Amar Shtos Kipachas Mishtos. Rav Yehuda Amar Shtos Ki Yoser Mishtos. So we have a classical shayla anytime you learn a Mishnah that gives you benchmarks. Pachais, yes, sir. The question is, what about that precise number? What if you nail it on the nose? You get a shtos straight. What is the halacha going to be? Says the Gemara, Ravuna Amar, shtos kepachs mishtos. Hachi kamar, pachs mishtos ushtos. Bichlal higiu, yoser mishtos. Yinake, Ravuna holds that a shtos exactly is like pachais. And the Mishnah is teaching us that this din, pachais and shtos, pachas mishtos, ushtos bichlal, then higiu. Yoser mishtos. If it's more than a shtos, yinake, we're going to subtract. Rav Yehuda Amar shtos ki yoser mishtos. And hachi karma, this is how you read the Mishnah. Pachas mishtos higiu. Ad shtos ushtos bechlal yinake. So machlekes Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. What do we do if one hits the 6 on the nose? Meis face in the middle of them in the first word line. He's yinake. Asks the Gemara on the sheet of Rav Huna. Rav Huna said that a shtos is like pachas mishtos. That it's going to be a good sale. Asks the Gemara from the Mishnah that says, B'simana b'meitzarav. The Mishnah says that if someone says with the simana with the mitzarim, piches shtos, less than a 6 or yehoiser shtos, harehu kishe harehu. Excuse me, this is not the Mishnah. It's very similar to the Mishnah. But if there's a case of simana v'meitzarav, piches shtos or yehoiser shtos, harehu kisham adayanim, says the Braisa less or more, then it goes by whatever the judges find out. Harehu kisham adayanim. It's the same as the halacha. It's the same as the halacha as Shuma Dayanim, and he gave the sale is valid. So says the Gemara, what's the kasha of Shuma Dayanim dishtos? In the case of Shuma Dayanim, a shtos gets the din of ki yoser mishtosu. So therefore, says the Gemara, so what do we see? Not like Rav Huna. Rav Huna said a shtos is like pachos mishtos, not like yoser mishtos. Rav Huna l'taimech higiu katani. According to that, what you're saying, the Braisa says that the sale stands that a shtos is like less than a shtos. Elo, but says the Gemara, Kishama Dayanim, V'loi Kishama Dayanim. Says the Gemara, it can't be the exact same because the din doesn't fit either way. But rather, it must be that Kishama Dayanim, 3 lines at the bottom, Lishtos, Lo Kishama Dayanim, Diluhasa, Batal Mekach, Viluhacha, and the Mishnah didn't say it's Batal, but rather the Mishnah said, Ki. Says the Gemara, let's bring down a story that articulates, similar to the above, Rav Papa, Zavin Ara Mehu Gavra. Rav Papa bought land from a certain person as we turn over to Kovavam and Beis. Amar Lei. So the person that's selling this piece of field to Rav Papa says to Rav Papa, Havye Esrin Gerivi Mashche. Its measure is 20 measures. V'lo yave ela chamesar. And Almais, when they measured, there's only 15 measures. He told you what it is. You recognize that it wasn't the same amount, and you accepted it. Says the Gemara, Vatanan, what do we do with the Mishnah that says, it's a good stale shtos, Yenake. So how are you telling me that clearly if it's more than a stuk, you have to adjust it? So why by us are you saying you knew what it was and you accepted the sale? Explains the Gemara, the din is only where he's not familiar with the sale. We would indeed say this svara. It says the Gemara, what second? But the seller told him he'll get 20. So I knew he's giving me a smaller field, asked the Gemara. But the buyer could claim, I assumed he's going to make good on his offer. He's going to somehow plug that gap. So Amar Lei says Abayit Rababa Da'adifa Ke'esrim. Says Rababa Da'abaya, the seller can claim that what he meant to say was, it's as good as 20, says the seller. I'm not going to make it up to you. I told you what it is. You accepted it. That's your problem. Tanya, says the Gemara, we quote a Braisa. Braisa is a shtickle unrelated. 10 lines down, the first line is Ke'esrim. Rav Yosi Omer says, Rav Yosi, when brothers divide an estate, Kivan sha'ala gayr le'acha me'arim, once the lottery falls on one of them, kana kulam, they all acquire their portion. That he wins his share, and the other brothers get the rest. So my time, what's the reason? Is the way we do a chalukah? Amar Rav Elazar, ketchilas Eretz Yisrael. Ma tchilas begayr lafka begayr. Says the Gemara. 1 second. If you're going to tell me that every nachla, every division is like Eretz, like the nachla of Eretz Yisrael, when they divided up Eretz Yisrael, how can you say it's the same thing? Over there was kalpi, they drew lots from a box, and there was dum and tumim. Hafkan the kalpi from tumim. It's ridiculous. Why are you telling me that every division of inheritance is the same thing? So Amar Ravashi, says Ravashi, with that hana, that each of them agreed to the other. Gamri umakni, you're right, it's not precisely the same thing. It's not exactly the Urim V'Tumim. You know why? Because over here we have all the brothers together. And the fact that they each agreed to the lottery that was had, that's an implicit agreement. That the remainder goes to the other party. And therefore, that is the reason why the lottery, will stand. Itmar, we continue on this theme of Nachla, Shnei Achas Shechalku Balem Ach V'Mdinas Hayam. Two brothers split up an inheritance, then lo and behold, another brother comes from overseas. Rav Amar Bala Machloikes. Rav says the original division is void, they got to do it again. Shmuel Amar Mikamsin, no, we each take a piece off of their share and they give it to the third brother. Amar le Rav Nachman le Rav de Amar, according to Rav that says Bala Machloikes, Alma Hadar Dina goes back. El Me'atav, that's true. Honey Bates Lasa Dekaimi, if you're telling me that we go back and we read the whole thing when the three partners who are present, and then two of them come along and they do a chalukah from the business. So the third brother comes. That's not the way it goes. So why over here would Rav say that it's batla machlekes? Says the Gemara, hachiyashta. Ha samnachita adaita. The Beitzlasa Meikar over there in the business, they knew there were three brothers. So they did the division without the three partners. They did the division without the third partner, but they knew that he's getting a share. Whereas Bayas Lo Nechita Adaitis Beitzlasa Meikar, and that's the reason why Rav says that the chaluk is void, because they did it thinking there were only two brothers, and really there were three. And that's the reason why Rav holds what he holds. Stop over here. We'll pick it up from Rav Papa, who's in Eskasha according to Shmuel B'siyata Dishmaya.